Hello, today we're going to make pencil holders. You will have 2 pieces of long rectangle fabric and 4 pieces of shorter rectangle fabric. To put them together, you will take one of your small pieces, right side up, put on top of that one of the long pieces, also right side up, and then you're going to put the other one right side down. So this is the wrong side on top. The right side is together with this right side. You're going to sew that seam. You're going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So the one piece right side up, the long piece also right side up, lining up those edges, and then the other piece right side down. Make sure they line up. Be sure and back stitch of the front and the back of the seam. Now you're going to pull the short side away from the long side, both on the top and the bottom. And you're going to press that toward the short side. So I'm kind of pulling that short side a little bit so that it's nice and tight. Then you're going to pull the other one, pull them together. You want to make sure that they line up here so that they're the same size and they have a good press on both sides. I'm going to do that with both of the pieces. So again, I'm going to press my seam toward the smaller piece, and I'm going to push this one also toward the smaller side, so that both of the smaller sides are on one side and the one longer piece is on the other side. Okay, that's the end of the first step. Go ahead and do that and then turn the video back on. We're ready to do step 2 of our pencil holders. We are going to measure our fold lines. So on the first piece, you're going to take the longest side and you're measuring 3 inches. So put your 3-inch mark right on that edge and marking a 3-inch there and 3 inches here. You are going to zigzag that top edge just on this one piece. The other piece you don't need to worry about. And you want your zigzag to be a 2.5 width and a 1.5 length. When you're zigzagging, you don't really have to backstitch. Now on this other piece, put your tape measure this way because you need to put it on the end, and you're going to mark 2 marks on this one. One at 1.5, so 1.5, and one at 4 1/8. Come over here and do the same thing. 1.5 and 4 1/8. Once you have your pieces marked, take the first piece that you marked that has a 3-inch, and you're going to fold that right at the 3-inch line. If you can't see your marker, then you might have to mark it on the wrong side as well. Press that, and then press Now on the next piece, you're just going to fold at the line at 1.5. And then again at the 4 1/8 line, and you're just tucking the one fold into the other. Okay, that's the end of step 2. Go ahead and do that and then turn your video back on. Now that you've finished step 2, we're ready to do step 3. We're going to put the pencil holder together. To do that, you're going to put right side of one fabric to right side of the other fabric. Notice that one is longer than the other one. You're going to line up your contrasting fabric and your other fabric. So this piece is longer, and make sure that this little piece that's folded, that this piece is on top so it stays folded. Now, sometimes when we do a seam, especially if it's thicker, it really helps if we just use a little dab of glue, and then we make sure that that seam is really good. And remember, when we do that, we always want to put a piece of paper underneath so that we don't get glue on our sewing surfaces. So I'm just going to dab just a little teeny bit of glue right there on that contrasting fabric. Then I'm going to put my other contrasting fabric on top so that those seams line up perfectly. You want those to be so, so perfect. And do the same thing on this side. Just a little dab of glue. This is just to make it so that it doesn't slide around on you. And then make sure that that is lined up perfectly. Now, another way to get it to line up, and so that, because we're working with different layers, I'm going to have you pin or use clips to keep those layers all together. So I'm using 4 clips on each side because of the different layers that we're working with. And that will keep your fabric from moving around on you. Now that your 8 clips are on, you can take your paper away and be sure and put the lid on your glue stick so that it stays moist enough to use again. Now we're ready to sew our pencil holder together. You're going to start on this side right here. You're going to sew down, plant your needle, pivot, turn, sew down to here, plant your needle, pivot and turn, and sew back up again. Be sure and back stitch at the beginning and the end of each seam. Now when we pivot and turn, we need to make sure that we don't go back and forth. You don't back stitch there, you don't do anything. You've got to stay straight and pivot and turn, and that's what's going to make your corners really nice and crisp. We were zigzagging, so make sure that you change your machine to a straight stitch, back stitch. And as you come to these, you can take out your clips, but just make sure that those stay nice and flat. You can use pins here if you prefer to do that. Okay, now as I approach my corner, I'm going to go kind of slow, and as I get to the end, I'm going to actually walk my machine. That means I'm turning my hand wheel. Always turn your hand wheel toward you. So I'm just going to turn it until I'm at the exact right place I need to be. Then I pivot and turn and go to the next edge. Now again, as I come to this corner, I'm going to walk it. So with my hand wheel turning always toward me, I'm walking that so that it's right. Turn and come back up the other way. sides. So get a close up of that. So see how nice and sharp my corners are? It's all one line and it comes to a very crisp corner. Okay, now to make it easier when we turn it, we are going to clip the corner. Now, be careful not to clip too close or it will cut into your stitching and you'll have a hole. But you want to clip close enough so that you can get that corner pushed out. Now, because we have 4 layers here, we're also going to trim just right close to that edge and just kind of make a little triangle cut like that. Again, on the other side, I'm just going to kind of make a triangle coming close to the edge. And then the same thing over here. That just helps that edge be a little crisper. Okay, now you're ready to turn your pencil holder and just put your thumbs in and just walk your fingers and your thumbs down. I like to put my thumb and my finger to push out the corners a little bit. That kind of helps get them a little bit out before we get to them. Okay, now using a point turner, you can also use a pencil. Some of you like to maybe use a safety pin to pull those corners out. I find the point turner works really well. You just have to be soft when you're doing it so you don't push that point turner right through the fabric. Now also with the point turner, if you will push against that seam with your point turner, it just helps you get a nice crisp edge there. And do that on both sides. And that's just makes it easier for you to press that. I'm just pushing right where the seam is. Okay, now it's all pushed out, and so we're ready to press the edges. I want that corner to be a little bit more crisp, so I'm going to poke that just a little bit more. Okay, and just kind of roll that so that edge is nice and even. I'm going to press this edge. You also want to press this piece right here. Give that a nice good press so that it's laying flat as well. Turn over and press the other side. Notice the other side has kind of a little pocket. So when you put your thumbs inside that pocket and just pull it out, then that makes the finished bag. And poke out those corners. And your pencil holder is all finished.